Welcome back to Canadian Justice, where we are discussing the prorogation of Parliament. The Governor General accepted Justin Trudeau's advice to the Crown to prorogue Parliament, and Parliament is now on that break. A lot of people think that there is a political issue with this, and some people think that there's a legal issue with it as well. But we've sort of seen issues in the past, Paul, about the Governor General declining advice or being told they should or could decline advice. But what type of discretion does the Governor General actually have? How much power or authority do they have to say, look, this is the advice from the Prime Minister, I'm going to do something different?
One of the wonderful things about our system, Christine, is that experts don't agree on some of the fundamental principles. So, to be honest, if you had 10 scholars in a room, 10 experts, and you asked them what exactly is the discretion the Governor General has, you might get 10 different answers. There are some people who say the Governor General has no discretion at all. I think most people would agree that if the Governor, to the extent the Governor General has any discretion, it should be exercised sparingly and only in the not necessarily the most outrageous cases, but it needs something egregious to get the Governor General to reject the advice of a Prime Minister who has the support who has the confidence of the House of Commons.
So, Paul, this case, what do you think? Is this one of those egregious cases where advice should have been declined, or do you think it's more within the spectrum of what how prorogation is more typically used?
Well, let's start with why people might feel upset about why Mr. Trudeau advised the Governor General to prorogue Parliament. I think there is a partisan advantage to the Liberal Party of Canada here. Instead of going straight into a dissolution where they would be weakened, they'd be under pressure. They either have to go with Mr. Trudeau as their leader, he's very unpopular, or they'd have to find a new leader in a hurry. That would be a very undesirable situation for the Liberal Party of Canada. And so proroguing Parliament is in their partisan political interests. I don't think there's any doubt about that they're going to have a better shot at winning the next general election, be it in March or be it later this year, whenever, with a new leader who has time to run a leadership campaign, get lots of visibility, lots of media attention, drum up support around the country, than if they had to go into a campaign with Mr. Trudeau or someone who'd been selected very hastily. That said, there are other reasons, countervailing reasons, that Mr. Trudeau laid out when he came out in front of Rideau Cottage and explained the situation to Canadians. He talked about Parliament being deadlocked. He talked about Parliament not being able to exercise its functions, and he gave, I think, plausible reasons. To support a prorogation, plausible reasons why prorogation is a good idea for Canada at this point in time. And we might not agree with them, but he did give plausible non-partisan reasons, even if we can see that there's a partisan advantage to the Liberal Party of Canada in this particular prorogation.
So, your conclusion and then is that the discretion probably should not have been exercised to decline the advice.
I don't think this was a case where the Governor General could have declined the advice of a Prime Minister who had the confidence of the House of Commons. No.
Philippe, we've got about a minute and a half left. Paul said, you put 10 scholars in a room and you'll get 10 different opinions. I've got two here. What's your take on the Governor General's discretion?
I think we need to realize that discretion is actually exercised in very narrow circumstances. The first of which is when a prime minister has lost the confidence of the House. And in that context, and this is when we've seen vice regal discretion. Let's look at BC under Christy Clark, her final election. She lost confidence, went to request a dissolution, and that was declined. In almost all other cases, the only situation in which the Governor General would exercise discretion is if there's a clear example of a First Minister having lost confidence, and that opens up that window. That said, it's important to realize the following thing, and this is, I suppose, where people would disagree. First, if a vice regal refuses prime ministerial advice, then one of two things has to happen. Either the prime minister resigns or they get dismissed. So there's a huge consequence to doing this.
Mhm.
It's okay, I need the confidence convention is not only between the prime minister and the commons, it's also between the prime minister and the crown. If the crown cannot accept prime ministerial advice, then it's signaling that it's lost confidence in that first minister. And the other thing to bear in mind is that what the Governor General will always base themselves on the last thing that the Commons did,
Mhm.
not on projections of what might happen.
Right.
So
and,
it's a
and we
fairly
know
narrow
that the
field.
last thing that the Commons did was support this government. Jagmeet Singh has said he will not support in the future, but he did less than a month ago. Sorry to interrupt. We do have to go to commercial break now,
All right.
but we'll be right back.